as a photographer mainly, it kind of saddens me that like the photographers before us um, don't have the kind of collaborations that we have in our age. I think ours is on steroids because of connectivity and internet. So we are really always engaged, almost in real time, talking about stuff. So for me, my excitement is with these kind of connectivity or connectedness translating into work, So generations to come, when you look back, you say, okay, these two artists did this about this issue, rather than, oh, this artist did this. But I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I think I like the multiplicity of voices talking about, because it can be quite layered, and for artists to bring in this kind of collaborative effort into producing work like this, I think is something we don't have a lot of, and for me that excites me, and it also feeds into my interest as a conversationalist and working with data. Being in your head is different from having a back and forth.
Francis is a photographer. I don't like to call myself a photographer because what I do is I take photographs every single day. I take photographs of objects. I take photographs of things displayed everywhere. And then this is what informs how I put the work together. So for me, the engagement in how to just take that photograph, see how the relationship between that object and the person placing the object there, that element in between the space, the land, the person, the object, and myself, there is a conversation going on. But that conversation gets captured in the moment. So for me, capturing all these different moments ends up becoming a different body of work. And this is how the space that I engage with becomes part of the work that I'm creating. So process is always an ongoing engagement, and it's a very important part of the work. It becomes more exciting for me when I'm in the process of creating the work.
For art to be sustainable for us, it must be healing. It must be something else other than commercial. So for us here and growing up, we experienced art differently. And I think for me personally, there's a pushback against how art is being propagated as something, or in its current form. For me, it brings no excitement, or I don't think it's healing for me, because growing up, we will draw to feel good, and we will share the work to feel good. So it's a matter of feeling, and I understand the question of how do you live off your art, and now we live because the art.
The artist is like one of the few people who is able to do anything and get away with it. And financially, economically, that anything can even end up selling so big. But just as Francis was saying, for me, I'm so drawn to time-based work, right? And the time-based work becomes an experience in the moment. And when you get to experience that thing, you have a lifetime to engage with it, spend time with it, question yourself about it, question your intellect. You have so many things that you get to experience with whatever you get to engage with. I'm saying that to say that if the work is not something that the artist feels like I'm living it, I feel this is doing something to me, you cannot even take it to the point where sustainability doesn't even come in. It has to be about you first, and that is when after that you can now start spreading it. So I feel like because of the privilege that we can have sometimes, there is a way that the work can support you, and you can make your way and all that kind of stuff. But I also feel like because of that privilege, we also don't spend time questioning ourselves about the kind of work we are producing.
I think the whole reparations movement, for me, what I question is value. Do we even have value for what has been taken? In the sense that, looking at our current situation, do we have value for what we have? If we don't have value for what we have, and how do we claim we have value for what we don't? So that has become a recurring thought, and I think the only way forward for me is self-love. Self-love is the only way we can appreciate ourselves first and our communities. And I think there's so much power in that it gets lost and we trivialize it. So at this point, I'm looking at value.
When I think about reparations, I just think about cultural artifacts, or that is what the conversation
Which
is.
is also valid. Like,
It's fine. I understand that, but Henry Clark says something about colonized information, and it goes back to value. It goes back to when we talk about how much is being sent away or how much left here. The harm is still an ongoing thing, from what was taken away. But at the same time, there is a lot being taken away now in this present moment. I feel like the reparation conversation is up here. And then if I cannot break this word down to someone else in my community, I don't understand what this reparation is. So for the work we are trying to present, we are trying to make the conversation as simple as it can for the two of us, and then present that to the audience and whoever engages with it.
this is really a good time also for reflection, because this conversation is important and necessary. My only hope is that we fix, what is missing. Value shouldn't be negotiated. It should be from source. We should find what is valuable. Otherwise, the goalpost keeps changing. In as much as, I feel fortunate that we have stations of broadcast. We're more connected than ever before. We are able to share ideas and reach more people than ever before. I think sometimes it's also a special feeling when artists converge at a particular point with concentrated ideas and creative thought to share with the rest of the world. So I think us convening at this exhibition makes so much sense, and I entreat everyone who is excited or thinking about the ideas of reparation to come to this exhibition with an open mind and come engage, because it's not just about the artist sharing, but it's also about the exchange, how the audience will interact and give back as well to the space.
It excites me to be able to have the space to share with Francis and also all the other amazing people in the exhibition. Just as Francis mentioned earlier, it's a conversation, and there is nothing more than having a conversation with like-minded people who are interested. There are so many things you can do with your practice, but you are specifically interested in this. So I think I'll entreat everyone who is interested also as well to make time, come through, and let's have conversation about this.